TV in London.
Presentation in London. Live stream with confidence.
Warning. The following program may contain graphics and video images that some viewers may find disturbing and traumatizing. Some of this violent content may be too graphic and intense for some people. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. NuMedia TV.
This is a special announcement on our rights to the choice of royalty-free tunes in all of our videos and podcasts. It has become a common practice occurring or appearing so frequently on Facebook with claims of copyright infringement in many of our live streams and video content. Frank Bello and the team at NuMedia TV would like to state unequivocally that Frank Bello and NuMedia TV have all legal rights to use over 700 royalty-free tunes in all of our videos and live streams and have not infringed any intellectual property rights. Some other tunes that may be used in some of our videos were also fully paid for on the Movavi video editor software program and another paid-up monthly subscription on Restream.io. Proof of purchase and delivery of the over 700 royalty-free tunes can be found at Sounds Best Delivery at Shopify.com, delivered and downloaded. Date of purchase, Tuesday the 12th of January 2021. Time of purchase, 17:17 hours in London.
Fair Use Act Disclaimer. Fair Use Copyright Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as nonprofit, criticism, news reporting, comment, teaching, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing.
Content disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this media or comments on this channel are those of the speakers or authors, and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by this channel's broadcasters. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos and audios may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. This channel's owner claims no copyright to said content. The broadcaster of this channel cannot be held accountable to the copyrighted content. The broadcaster of this channel is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify the accuracy of such information, but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this channel.
Yes, hi, good evening. Good evening, all. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I meet each and every one of you well, in top form and in good spirit. Yes, today is Thursday, the 18th day of January 2024. You're welcome to the stream. I salute each and every one of you. By the time currently in London, it is exactly 1928. 1928, almost approaching 7:30 London time. Yes, I welcome you, and we're going to do it like we always do it in our own time. Yes, I can get that message that is coming up on my WhatsApp. Yes, I can get it. That's cool. And it is fine. I'll just indulge you to listen very carefully and attentively to what we have to discuss today. It's going to be not business as usual. Yeah, it's not business as usual as many people will think. Yeah, it's been a while. I have not made my presence felt on the social media. But this particular evening, we will be trashing something that is totally different. We want to talk about the New World Order, the NWO. We want to talk about Nigeria 2024, and we want to talk about Africa in 2024. Anibolaji, good evening. If this is your first time on our channels, please don't forget to like us, subscribe to all our channel, and then press the notification bell so that you get alert anytime we come live. Yes, I greet you. If you don't comment, I probably might not be able to recognize your presence, but if you want to remain anonymous, that is fine by me, because I'm actually monitoring the stream from different devices. Yeah, let me get this device too up and running so that I can see the activities ongoing. Yeah, that one too is live. Hashtag the New World Order. Hashtag Nigeria 2024. Hashtag Africa. It seems a handful of some of the things I predicted to many of you since the COVID lockdown in 2020. Seems everything is now coming to reality. Don't ask me how or why. But the Bible says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. Perish for lack of knowledge. You see, before I go into the nitty-gritty of the New World Order agenda, let us first of all deal with the pains that is ongoing in Nigeria, left, right, and center. You will all remember, I've said it time after time, that a 1 million of Bola Ahmed Tinubu cannot fix Nigeria. So also, a 1 million of Atiku or Peter Obi cannot fix Nigeria. I am not shaking. Seriously, not shaking. Because a handful of Nigeria will never go to those areas that quality information will be handed over to them, so that the quality of information that's been handed to them, they can then prepare themselves for eventualities, the worst that can happen. I bet not many of you are aware of the NWO agenda, with the exception of a few that I know for a fact that they know exactly what is going on. You see, Nigeria is messed up. Crazy Nigeria, screwed up. Let me quickly run you through some headlines that is making waves. Let me start from Osun State. Osun State government under the dancing governor, you know who I mean, that Gazard who likes to dance up and down, going from one party to another, showcasing his dancing skills to a lot of people. Governors without shame, etiquette. So his government in Osun State, according to this brief, dethrones a monarch. Yeah. And the monarch's asset I think it has been seized. In fact, the Osun monarch is the Owa of Igbajo. Let me just break it down. So he's been dethroned. Now, another information that got into my possession is now telling me that Nigeria is currently losing with Shell's exit. You know, Shell, they've packed their belongings on the, I think it is offshore line, or, you know, whichever one, whether it is onshore or offshore, they've packed. So the Minister of Petroleum says that they are losing. The next one, you remember the EFCC are particularly running after Ayodele Fayose at the moment. I've still got my comment based on that. See, because I said to some people in some groups that EFCC running after people that ought to must have been arrested, collect all the loot from each and every state they stole since 1999. They're still on the run. So how come 24, 25 years after the loot, the government of Nigeria now fit it deemed to now begin to open up books and they start chasing, running after shadows? See, Fayose is another one. Ayodele Fayose, former governor of Ekiti State. See, now look at the play games here. The games they are playing with your lives in location 9. Fayose looted Ekiti's treasury in a ruthless fashion. In fact, Fayose was the politician within the nooks and crannies of Nigeria that came up with that cliche with stomach infrastructure. Now, are those leaders? Are those responsible leaders? Now, this same Fayose, after using both hands, both left and right, to chop Ekiti's money, Fayose that really helped Bola Tinubu to become president at the detriment of Atiku in the same PDP. Fayose is PDP, you know. So Fayose jettisoned Atiku. Well, probably he will put up a claim to say, oh, power must come down to the south. So Fayose, who then aligned himself with APC candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu to become president. Now, the AFCC is now running after Fayose, and from what I am getting here right now, Fayose's brother, according to this information, removes proofs from Fayose's apartment, all the evidence that the EFCC might be looking for that will be incriminating. His brother has gone to the apartment. Maybe, I don't know, I'll find out if it is his Lagos apartment, or he won't have an apartment in Ado Ekiti. Definitely he must have built himself a mansion in either Ado Ekiti or Ibadan, because I know he lived in Ibadan for a long time. In fact, his childhood was spent in Ibadan, just like Akeredolu, the late Akeredolu. Fayose's brother removes proofs and then remove roof from apartment of a tenant. Good evening, Narada Franklin. Please share the stream. We're still warming up. Before I go into more details on those breaking news, let's start with Nigeria. No, should we start with Nigeria? No, let us start with the NWO agenda, the New World Order agenda. And the NWO agenda will then set us the record on how we can proceed. I want you to first of all watch this video that I was meant to upload sometimes, but I never did. I want you to please pay close attention to the details in the video.
TV in London. Live stream with confidence. Beyond the headlines. News in its purest form.
On our channels, we tell stories through digital content. We nourish your inner mind with pure and undiluted information. If this is your first time on our channel, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Your engagement and interaction are the best rewards for us. It helps us build a more robust community now than ever before. Click the notification bell so you get notified anytime we post a new video or live streaming. Let's get started. Africa is in trouble. The New World Order, NWO, is real. This agenda, according to the United Nations, UN, is a plan of action for people, the planet, and prosperity. This plan of action is questionable, especially when it relates to Africa and the black people. The United Nations also claims the New World Order, NWO, also seeks to strengthen universal peace in larger freedom. Listen very carefully. The rulers of our world, said all countries and all stakeholders, acting in collaborative partnership, will implement this plan. They claim they are resolved to free the human race from the tyranny of poverty and want to heal and secure our planet. This is also questionable. In their headquarters at 760 United Nations Plaza, Manhattan, New York in the United States of America, they said they were determined to take the bold and transformative steps that are urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. The New World Order conspiracy put forward arguments that the global elite was trying to implement a single world government. Conspiracy theorists claim this is being achieved through manufactured crises, as one such man-made attempt to exert undue control over civilians. Implementation of the New World Order. So how do conspiracists believe this shadowy cabal is implementing the New World Order? While there is no definitive set of claims, believers of the conspiracy generally point to a mixture of the following. 1. The United Nations, UN, is seen as a vehicle through which this shadowy cabal operates. 2. Mind control. Some proponents of the theory claim the cabal plans to, or is already implanting, microchips and other surveillance technology to enslave people across the world. Anti-Semitic and New World Order narratives also refer to mainstream media outlets as part of this Jewish propaganda arm, used to brainwash society. 3. Other infringements on individual freedoms. New World Order conspiracists claim increased legislation around gun ownership and the potential confiscation of privately owned guns are all part of the wider agenda to subdue citizen populations. The COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent social restriction measures, as well as other public crises, are similarly seen as proof of this secret agenda and are therefore claimed to be manufactured by this mysterious elite. 4. The Rothschilds family, a wealthy banking family of Jewish background, is particularly targeted by conspiracists. They claim, among others, that the Rothschilds control the City of London, the US Federal Reserve, and much of traditional media. 5. Bill Gates and George Soros have similarly been accused of forming part of this shadow establishment. 6. Secret societies, the Bilderberg Group, a selection of North American and European politicians that come together once a year, is also fodder for conspiracy. The secretive nature of their meetings, of which no minutes or other follow-ups are ever publicized, has spurred claims that the group is part of this global elite attempting to implement a one-world government. The Council of Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission are also perceived similarly by conspiracists, in that they are accused of being vehicles for implementing the New World Order. In this video, you will soon find out the agenda of the white race in the Western world robbing the African people of raw materials the Lord of Hosts deposited on their lands. The question we ought to ask is, who is fooling who in the New World Order agenda? Please pay close attention to the 2 video clips. Africa is in trouble.
If you are an African, you really need to watch this. Africa is in trouble.
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries. And Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you, living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay? So the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay? And to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. You know, so this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufacturers.
See that?
Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices. And after those countries finished industrialization, then Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role. Just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. The currencies are collapsing of these countries.
Did you hear that? The currencies are collapsing. Take your mind back to Nigeria.
After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep these countries where they were. Okay? And the first of those is aid. Okay, we give them aid.
There's lots more coming.
Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan,
They kill him.
they were killed. It's just economics. It's economic warfare. The rich declare war on the poor. It happens everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do. You really believe you have democracy? Come on. You know, I mean, grow up. Who has all the subsidies and income support? US, Europe. The largest budgets in the world for supporting their farmers are Europe and US. You see, we're keeping them dependent. We're keeping them
Did you hear that?
string. This next round of the WTO is designed to block that. To block anyone else getting on top of.
The Middle East is fucked. We should know we fucked it. 6 of the 10 fastest growing economies are in sub-Saharan Africa. Countries rich in mineral wealth. Coltan for our computers, cobalt for our batteries, phosphates for our agriculture, nuclear ore for our power. These are the things, gentlemen, that the wars of the next 20, 30 years will be fought over.
Did you hear that?
A huge deposit of cobalt was discovered in Mali.
Mali.
Over 2 years ago. Back then, we approached the Malian government about mining rights. They told us that those rights were going to the Chinese. So we set about to create the conditions to make sure that wouldn't happen.
See? They created the
Just
conditions.
last week, one of our Australian subsidiaries, thank you, Lachlan, secured
See him?
those rights.
Yeah.
Our pilot project in Mali hit a few bumps, but I'm delighted to report that it worked. And if it can work there, there's no reason it can't work in other mineral-rich countries across Africa. We create the chaos.
You see, they create the chaos. Yes, we are still on the New World Order agenda. A handful of you will remember in March when the entire United Kingdom was locked down by the then Prime Minister Boris Johnson after the spread of COVID-19. And I said, I streamed within the very first week of the middle of March 2020 that COVID-19 will usher in the New World Order, NWO, that's been in the making since 1945, just immediately after the Second World War. You see, Albert Pike predicted the world will fight 3 world wars. And definitely with COVID-19, it was a clear strategy to begin to move the world very, very gradually into the New World Order. And for your information, many of you probably don't know. I've been saying this time after time. And I think in the year 20, I think it was in the year 2016, I first made it known on Ayogundimu's show, Citizen AY, that the world is run in symbols and in code. And slavery, colonization, neo-colonization are all part of the agenda to control land and resources. But not many people are aware. Everything is documented. It's just that a handful of you are not smart and you are unintelligent to go and find out where those information are deposited, either secretly or otherwise. I streamed then and again and I said the world is in chaos. NWO. You can clearly see that. See, the New World Order agenda is real. You see, NWO has been encrypted as a secret inside the $1 bill since 1945. The New World Order is an agenda by the Western superpower, especially the United States of America, on how to grab land, people, and resources. Land grabbing. See, when we come back to Nigeria, then you'll be able to put 1 plus 1 together to see why the Fulanis are even grabbing your lands in the Southern Protectorate of Nigeria, Southern Nigeria. Let me take you through the second video I already prepared for you on the New World Order that will open up your eyes again, that I made up today. And it took, you see, for me to prepare all this video and all these presentations, it takes an awful lot of time for me to do a perfect presentation to each and every one of you that is of the highest standard, and I'm not being paid for it. I spend my own time, I spend my own money to get all this quality information across to you, the way and manner you will take them in, digest them, and then nourish your mind with those information. Hey, but not many people are prepared. Many of you are not even prepared. What if the Third World War should break out suddenly? As I am talking to you, World War III can break out. Russia can decide to nuke Europe and America. America can decide to nuke Russia or China. What are your preparations? Should such an incident suddenly happen in the history of the world, we all will be wiped out. You see, those elites, they are prepared. They've built themselves bunkers that nukes will not be able to penetrate because they are hundreds of feet below ground. They've built cities below ground. Let me play you this second video on the New World Order agenda.
This is NuMedia TV in London.
Listen very carefully and take this information in. The following information, take them in.
In Africa, yes, because there is a policy of the American government. It's called the Kissinger Report, which was produced in the
Kissinger Report,
when Henry Kissinger was involved with the government, and it explicitly states that the purpose of the foreign policy in Africa was to reduce the population.
Depopulation agenda
to countries in Africa, not clean water and schooling and things like that, but contraception and abortion, in order to shrink the population of Africa, because they have great mineral resources there. In the time, Kissinger and those involved with the Carter administration,
Henry Kissinger,
wanted to shrink the population, make sure that the Africans do not develop and do not use the resources for themselves, because we in the States, we need them. There is a concerted effort of foreign powers to control the population of Africa. Africa is a huge continent, could feed thousands more people, but the policies of the West, especially in Europe. For example, between 1990 and the year 2000,
listen.
The United States, Canada, and Europe contributed about $6 billion in contraceptives.
Can you imagine?
Not to help the people, not to give clean water, clean food. That is not.
It is called the Kissinger Report. It was declassified in roughly 1990, 1991.
Correct.
1.5 to 2 years after I was born. In this, it states, quote, depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world, end quote. But it was not just for foreign policy and foreign nations, specifically the 13 initial nations that are on that list, but it also was for domestic here and at home as well. Once that occurred, they started to look at how to use food as a weapon, how to get rid of over 4 billion at this point human beings on the planet. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is actual fact. This is documented evidence. You also have something called Global 2000, authorized under President Jimmy Carter, where they also were looking at ways to get rid of the population. All of this is actual fact. So when you said, there's this room of people that are coming together, yes, this is an actual fact. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is very real. But the problem is we don't have the ability to confront high levels of evil, because we don't believe we can overcome it. We don't want to see that there's something so big, when the reality is, if we stand up and we do things for ourselves, take care of our own people, take care of our communities, etc., we won't fall into that.
You know what I hear when you speak to?
Doesn't it?
Go ahead.
Doesn't it put a lot of faith in humanity and not being shitty people?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's called accountability for yourself, and not relying on some other government or some sky daddy or some random thing you do to try to help you. No, God moves when we do. Absolutely. Yeah. God do.
No doubt.
But we have to do something for ourselves. It's just that simple. I can't blame the white man. I can't blame the government. If I'm out here educating you on what the hell they're doing, that's me telling you, this is what they're doing. Here's some solutions on how to get out of it. I'm not just saying, look at them, they're bad people. No, we know what they do.
Right.
All right? This is what you need to do to take care of yourself.
I'm about to say something. I don't want to sound ignorant, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Go ahead, bro.
I'm going to say it anyway. Because some of what you're saying, I heard in what Akon was saying.
What Ish's been saying.
What
Ishkon says?
Ish
been saying, like, that's why you sitting smiling.
Ishkon been saying the same shit for a year and a half, and you ain't heard. You heard it when Akon said it.
None of what he said.
Ish has 100% been saying this for the longest, where it's on us. Like, stop.
60% of what he's just quoted, Joe, I've said on this podcast at least 10, 15 times.
He's right.
At least. You don't hear when your niggas say it. When Akon come with his millions, you say it. When the brother come, I'm gonna start wearing a bow tie and a pod, nigga, and then you adhere to what I'm saying. I got it. It's cool.
Sometimes it is who says it. It is though. Sometimes I don't know if that's in this case. I don't know.
I mean, as I listen to RZA speak, it sounds like he fighting some real moral shit to happen here.
Now let me ask you this.
All love.
So what do you say to the theory that you kind of got to swim with the sharks to make change? You can't stand on a boat and yell at the sharks. You got to dive in and swim with the sharks to really make change from within.
Same thing like, we have to infiltrate the system in order to overcome the system. Okay, I've heard that. There are people for different plays, people in different positions on the playing field. I get that. It does exist. It is true. Here's the reality, however. You will never change the system of white supremacy. Let's make that clear. It is itself, in itself, its purpose, its goal. Now, if you want to go inside of it to get certain things to help your people, is it possible? Sure. But if your intent is to go inside of it to try to change it,
can't change it.
That will not work. And that's a problem we have. Too many of our people are trying to go in it, and rather than getting the knowledge, information that you can learn from the successful moves, which you should do, rather than getting that, bringing it back to your people, multiplying it and building us up, that's good. But if you try to go in there and change it and, well, no, we can, give them a moral appeal. Let's do some race education.
Yeah, that's true.
They taught you how much they hate you. And when I say they, I'm saying the group at the top, which includes some black folks who hate themselves and their own people. There's people in all these different cultures doing things that devalue and destroy their own people. So we can't just point over there because we killing ourselves too now. So what's up with that? I can't just point over here. It's like, no. Take some accountability. Yes, we know what you do. You're the classic one. You're the classic devil. We know. You're the chief of that. But we also are doing it too. So now we got to take responsibility and handle our own business as well. This is family business. And we have to take care of ourselves. We have to build up our own people, take accountability, and that way other people will respect us more because they see, okay, you know what? We can't mess with them.
I said this time after time.
So they shouldn't do it to us in the first place, but we also shouldn't do it to ourselves.
It's interesting. We heard from the minister of DRC. What's wrong with your country? Well, we don't even start by saying the King of Belgium created a slave colony for 30 years. The government of Belgium ran the slave colony for another 40 years. The CIA assassinated your first popular leader, Mr. Lumumba, and then installed another dictatorship for the next 30 years. And then Glencore and others now suck out your cobalt without giving you tax income. We don't reflect on that. We say, what's wrong with you? Why don't you govern properly?
You remember from the first video.
Zaire gave up control over their economy to the IMF. This was not a conspiracy. It was just like a known thing. Meaning the government of Zaire had to place IMF officials in its government, in the treasury, in control of the economy. And we would shape the economy, usually to do two things in the tropics. We would focus on extractive industries. So let's get this stuff out of the ground as fast as possible without any benefits accruing to the local population. In fact, we'd often ruin the environment around them and, make their life miserable. And number two, agriculture stuff. So we would force them to do this monocrop kind of industrial scale agriculture, usually of things that they couldn't eat, that they would export to us for our consumption. Palm oil, rubber, tea, coffee, etc. So we would engineer their society to do this and to be more dependent. In order to do so, this is an export-led model. You want the exports to be cheap, right? So that means you need the currency to be weak. So we would devalue the currency again and again and again and again. And you basically want to shrink the economy. You don't want the government to be providing any subsidies to its people or healthcare, education. No. That's only for rich countries. Now, of course, the dictator takes his cut, but beyond that, there's
dictators take a big chunk of the cut.
Identify a third world country that has resources our corporations covet, like oil, and then arrange a huge loan to that country from the World Bank.
Nigeria on my mind here.
But the money never goes to the country. Instead, it goes to our big corporations
to
build
Shell, Mobil Oil,
power plants, highways, industrial parks, things that benefit a few very rich people in that country, as well as
rich people, things that benefit rich people in that country. You can see Lagos.
Poor to buy electricity, don't have the skills to get jobs in industrial parks, don't own cars to drive on the highways, and yet those very people, the whole country is left holding a huge debt, so that it can't pay for education and social services.
Can you see that?
For its people.
Do you hear that?
In fact, the debt is so huge by intent that at some point we economic hitmen go back and we say, listen, you owe us a lot of money. You know, I read just recently declassified information, the CIA's own website, where they admit that the U.S. government was deeply involved in the overthrow or assassination of Prime Minister Mossadegh of Iran, President Allende of Chile, Arbenz of Guatemala, Diem of Vietnam, Lumumba of the Congo. And speaking of Allende of Chile, he was replaced by the terribly brutal dictator General Pinochet.
You remember
who was
Pinochet?
a great defender of Operation Condor, and also oversaw the murder of tens of thousands of his people, and was praised by Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Can you hear again? Henry Kissinger.
Of capitalism. I stood in front of the Shah of Iran, the presidents of Indonesia, Ecuador, Panama, members of the Royal House of Saudi Arabia, and I said something like, in this hand, I have millions of dollars for you and your friends if you play our game. In this hand,
I've got a gun.
I have a gun in case you decide not to. Now, my words were more diplomatic than that, but that was the message. I was an economic hitman.
Economic hitman, this man.
Economic hitman
for the CIA.
Created a new global economy, really. A form of capitalism that I call predatory capitalism. I would go to countries with resources that corporations covet, like oil. I'd arrange a huge loan to those countries from the World Bank or its sister organizations, but the money wouldn't actually go to the country. It would go to our corporations, Bechtel, Halliburton, Brown and Root, familiar names.
Do you remember Halliburton during Obasanjo's period as president?
They'd build power plants and industrial parks, things that would benefit a few wealthy families in the country, the ones that own the industries. But the majority of the people would suffer. They would be left holding a huge debt they couldn't repay. So we go back and say, since you can't pay your debt, sell your resource, oil or whatever, real cheap to our corporations. Privatize. Sell your utilities, your schools, your jails, everything like that to our corporations. And Claudine also told me that if the leaders of these countries refused my offer, people she called jackals would be right behind me. I didn't actually carry a gun, but the jackals did. My first assignment was in Indonesia, a country that had just ended a terrible civil war where more than 1 million people had been killed. It had a terrifying reputation. And I have to admit that when I arrived in Jakarta, knowing I'd be there for about 3 years, my knees were shaking pretty bad. My stomach was filled with fluttering butterflies. I had no idea what I was supposed to do. I was a very young man. I just knew that I was expected to produce a report that would convince the Indonesian government to build an extremely expensive electrical system, hiring our corporations to do it. Claudine had made it sound simple, even kind of James Bondishly romantic. But now I'm struck by reality, and I felt naive, ill-prepared, vulnerable. Fortunately for me, the winner of the Civil War, President Suharto, who was actually a dictator, wanted the projects that I was offering. And he also wanted CIA and Pentagon protection. And so every time I stumbled, and I stumbled often, somebody was there to pick me up. A government official would appear with an incredible report that would indicate beyond any shadow of a doubt that electricity was all the country needed to take off to huge growth. A Harvard-trained mathematician showed up with a mathematical formula that proved that if they just built this electrical system, everything would be fine. In the end, I produced a report that forecasts the need for electricity at an unheard of annual rate of 19%. Indonesia got its loan. Our corporations made lots of money, and I was promoted from economist to chief economist. It was quite a lesson. At that time, the Cold War was just really, really revving up. And Washington believed that Cuba was about to spread communism throughout the hemisphere. The CIA developed a program called Operation Condor to support right-wing dictatorships in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, throughout the continent. Jaime Roldos, president of Ecuador, democratically elected, and Omar Torrijos, head of state of Panama, strongly opposed Operation Condor. I was sent down to get them to change their ways. They wouldn't. They refused. Roldos was killed when his private plane crashed in what many believe was an accident.
Yeah.
Torrijos said, the CIA killed my friend Jaime. I'll probably be next. In less than 3 months,
he was killed
when his private plane crashed under very similar circumstances. You're going to hear after the break from a Marine Corps general who was in Panama at the time, and he agreed with me that these were probably, at least Torrijos was probably assassinated.
More doctors and more teachers per capita than any country in the world.
That guy mentioned Cuba. Listen to Cuba.
State supported, which means people don't have to put money out for the medical care or for they of course pay the cost indirectly as a whole society, but they don't have to pay the bill in the hospital and so forth. And so that cannot be allowed to stand. It's a very bad example for the United States and for all the third world people in the United States. After all, we're coming to a world country very fast, if not already. If not already, yeah. And so there's a very large mass of people out there who can look at Cuba and say, well, if they can do it, and on a per capita income of $2,000, $2,500 a year, where ours is $22,500 a year.
Listen.
What's wrong with our system? I mean, maybe we ought to consider an alternative.
That's why Nicaragua, Sandinista Nicaragua had to be destroyed.
Exactly. They were a bad example, and that's why Grenada had to be destroyed, because any movement that comes to power with the idea of providing for all the people and of escaping the control of the United States and its economy, let's say the corporations and so forth, then that is bad news here in the United States in the upper circles of power.
Neighboring countries. It's good we look at these 16 real reasons why Colonel Gaddafi was killed. 1. There is no electricity bill in Libya. Electricity is free for all its citizens. 2. There is no interest on loans. Banks in Libya are state-owned and loans given to all its citizens are at a 0% interest by law. 3. Home is considered a human right in Libya. Gaddafi vowed that his parents would not get a house until everyone in Libya had a home. 4. All newlyweds in Libya receive $60,000 dinars, $50,000 from the government to buy their first apartment. 5. Education and medical treatments are free in Libya. Before Gaddafi, only 25% of Libyans were literates. Today, the figure stands at 83%. 6. Libyans taking up farming as a career, they received farmland, a farming house, equipment, seeds and livestock to kick-start their farms, all for free. 7. If Libyans cannot find the education or medical facilities they needed in Libya, the government funded them to go abroad for it. 8. In Gaddafi's Libya, if a Libyan buys a car, the government subsidized 50% of the price. 9. The price of petrol in Libya is $0. 14 per liter. 10. Libya has no external debt and its reserves amount to $150 billion, now frozen globally. 11. If a Libyan is unable to get employment after graduation, the state would pay the average salary of the profession as if he or she is employed until employment is found. 12. A portion of Libyan oil sale is credited directly to the bank accounts of all Libyan citizens. 13. A mother who gave birth to a child under Gaddafi received US $5,000 as child benefit up front. 14. 40 loaves of bread in Libya costs 15 cents. 15. 25% of Libyans have a university degree. 16. Gaddafi carried out the world's largest irrigation project, known as the Great Man-Made River Project, to make water readily available throughout the desert country. If this is called dictatorship, I wonder what type of leadership Democrats have. Share this to remember Gaddafi.
I've only got time to turn to the funniest story of the week. Joe Biden is currently holding a democracy summit in southern Africa. That's right, in the very place where the United States and the United Kingdom and France and all the other so-called West supported racist, apartheid, white supremacist states right up until the very end. Margaret Thatcher, I was there, saw her lips move, called Nelson Mandela a common terrorist. The United States took Mandela off the terrorist list in 2008, in the 18th year of his presidency of the Republic of South Africa. And I got to thinking when I saw a very harrowing picture posted by one of my friends on Twitter earlier this evening. It's a picture that deserves to be seen far more widely. You'll find it on my Twitter feed. It's a picture of the Congo's first Prime Minister, Patrice Lumumba, half naked, in shackles, being pushed down aircraft steps by a Belgian military officer after his overthrow in a coup organized and executed by Britain, Belgium, and the United States of America. The newly elected President Jack Kennedy knew nothing of this coup, and the CIA defied him, lied to him, and conducted this coup behind their new president's back. But it happened. The CIA, MI6, and the hated Belgian colonist government that was finally having to leave power took this fine man, probably the greatest of all African leaders, and murdered him. They then dismembered him. They then dissolved him
in acid
and sent one of his teeth back to Brussels for safekeeping. It was only returned to the Congo last year. The West murdered Patrice Lumumba. The West helped keep Nelson Mandela in prison for 27 years, most of them on Devil's Island, Robben Island, in the dungeons of apartheid. The West supported racist apartheid rule in the very southern Africa. They're now holding a summit in to tell Africans how important their democracy is. There's the picture of the hero Patrice Lumumba being led down the steps of that aircraft to his death, his dismemberment, and his dissolving in acid. You couldn't make it up. And they wonder why Africans are utterly unmoved at their pleas to reject China and Russia and embrace them instead. China never occupied a square inch of Africa. Russia never occupied a square inch of Africa. As a matter of fact, when the West was supporting apartheid and white supremacist rule in southern Africa, it was the Russians who were arming, financing, and providing the diplomatic skeleton, backbone for the worldwide activity of the anti-apartheid movement, of the movement for liberation in southern Africa. I have many times spoken at the Patrice Lumumba University for the Friendship of the People. It's not in San Francisco, it's not in London, and it certainly isn't in Brussels. It's in Moscow. It's in Russia. I have been there, spoken there many times. Does that little vignette not explain something to you, the viewers, and the wider public about why the Africans will never hate Russia, will never hate China? China is building roads, railways, terminals, ports, harbors, infrastructure all over Africa. All the so-called West did was loot it and steal even the people of Africa themselves, chain them in the holds of ships, sailed them through the Middle Passage, tossing thousands of them overboard when they died as food for the sharks, and then those lucky enough to reach land were placed as beasts of burden in chains as slaves. You want Africans to support you, Mr. Biden, Mr. Sunak, Miss von der Leyen, Mr. Borrell, the people you just described as the people of the jungle while you sat in your garden? How does your garden grow now, Mr. Borrell? Have you seen the streets of France?
Yes, Europe is a garden. We have built a garden. Everything works. The rest of the world, most of the rest of the world is a jungle. And the jungle could invade the garden. And the gardeners should take care of it.
What's the difference between a garden and a jungle? A garden's a nice place where civilized human beings walk around. A jungle is the heart of darkness, where wild animals live. Now, many people in Africa, Asia, Latin America remember very well how in the name of civilization, European colonialism treated them like wild animals, enslaving them, torturing them, and even exhibiting them in human zoos. Therefore, when the highest diplomat of the European Union compares Europe to a garden, but especially the rest of the world to a jungle, the message these people hear is that Europe is still driven by neocolonialism.
Is Europe really driven by neocolonialism? Let us explore.
The truth is, it's a million miles from the reality of EU-Africa trade policy as it exists now, because our economic relations with Africa are simply a continuation of European colonialism, perpetuating exploitation by other means. Africa trades more with Europe than it does with itself. It's portrayed as a poor continent, but actually it's the richest. It's just that the people there are denied the fruits of their land and their labor by unequal
control of land and resources,
by unfair trade rules, by illicit capital flights into the Western banks, and by multinational corporations allowed off the leash by Washington, London and Brussels.
You see? Africa in trouble. The New World Order agenda.
Why are we still going to the United Nations as Africans? That is a useless entity. It's not for us. The largest voting bloc in the United Nations are the African nations. We don't have a seat on the table. Why do we go there? We go to the United Nations to vote on their issues. They pay African countries. Oh, vote with us on this issue. Vote with us on this issue. We have no business going to the United Nations, period. We need to tell Secretary Guterres, thank you very much, but we're no longer going to attend United Nations. It's not our entity. Until we have true representation. Goodbye.
Right.
Wow. This is the Haiti NWO agenda. Listen to this.
Okay, so in 2004, the European tribes came back to Haiti as proprietor and landowner, and they built the largest U.S. embassy in the Western Hemisphere in Haiti, and it is the 4th largest U.S. embassy in the world. While they're telling you we have no resources, they are building themselves a footprint that's bigger than all their other embassies, except for 4.
And what's the relevance of that?
They need the place to store all they are acquiring.
All the plundering.
In different part of Haiti right now, while people are sleeping or doing their own business, they are digging. What they dig, they take with
Listen to this.
with them, and when they leave, they just leave the hole wide open. In the northern part of the country, where companies goes to mine gold, when they take the gold out, they don't do anything with the soil to assist the people that are living there. So the resources that we have on the lands are being excavated and taken into cars and leaving at night.
And beyond gold now, the other resources that are critically important.
Oil. Haitian geologist says that Haiti's oil is bigger than Venezuela's oil, which has the biggest cachet. They say that Haiti's oil is a swimming pool to Venezuela's cup of water.
Did you hear that?
Also, you have to understand how does oil come? Haiti is on a tectonic plates making that oil. It's on the Caribbean basin, the North American tectonic plate, the South American tectonic plate, and the Atlantic tectonic plate. Massive oil, because what's the same thing with the Middle East, okay? But another thing, Haiti has an extraterrestrial material that is found nowhere else in the world except South Africa, and it's the purest in Haiti. 65 million years ago, an asteroid landed in this space. We have an asteroid mountain in different places. We have mountains. They're made of asteroid. They use this asteroid because it's the remain of this asteroid that is so heat resistant that they use for spacecrafts. They have been, Professor Henry Dixon of Haiti says 1 ton of Haiti's iridium.
I wanted to get to
iridium is worth $45 billion. We have mountains of it. So what the UN occupation is that they put soldiers and private military contractors in UN uniforms. They're everywhere in Haiti, digging out the mountains. You can go to Haiti, and yes, you can see. Like I was in Haiti one time, and I saw 12 UN trucks with these black dirt, just going through. I'm like. So they literally, since 1986, with the fall of Duvalier, the U.S. military has been taking out Haiti's iridium. But in addition to, they say, we have 20 billion worth of gold, 8 billion worth of copper, 120 billion worth of oil, and this iridium, we have mountains of it. The United States is in Haiti because of its economic and strategic interests. We are also between Cuba and Venezuela.
Now, Christianity declining in Europe.
Martyrs Free Church in Edinburgh, part of the history of Christianity in Scotland. Today it's Frankenstein, which describes itself as both a family-friendly venue and a place for stag parties and bar-top dancers. This is St. Paul's Church in Bristol, England. It's now a school for circus performers. And in Linares, Spain, the Church of Santa Barbara is now Chaos Temple, a skateboard park. But before you get angry with the owners of Frankenstein, understand that Europe today has more empty church buildings than it knows what to do with, because Europe is by and large no longer Christian. These are the remnants of a lost civilization, Christian civilization. It was once at the very heart of European life and culture. Those days are long gone. Among the British, belief in the Christian God has plummeted.
The trajectory is very clear. It's something like 70-75% of British under 30s say they have no religion.
Theologian Stephen Bullivant, author of Mass Exodus, says Europe's move away from Christianity is accelerating.
People often ask me, especially in the Catholic Church, it's kind of, what can we do to kind of bring everyone back, And half serious, I always say, well, invest in time machine technology.
The data is clear. Christianity in Europe is dying.
Dr. Harvey Kwiani, professor of African Christianity and Theology at Liverpool Hope University, is from the Christian nation of Malawi. He says moving to what he calls Britain's pagan culture was a shock.
Growing up in Africa, growing up in Malawi, Christianity is exploding. The median age of an African Christian is 19. Coming to Europe, these are post-Christian people. They have moved away from Christianity. I teach students who would tell me I'm a third, fourth generation pagan in my family.
God is still moving in Europe, but the larger culture has been lost. And although some governments might still be officially Christian, they are now openly persecuting Christians.
What is hard for people in America to understand is that people in Great Britain really have no notion of what Christianity is.
Attorney Andrea Williams of Christian Concern in London spends much of her time defending clients like Christian Dr. David Makareth, who, because of his Christian beliefs, refused to call a transgender man a woman and was fired.
In essence, I'm now being compelled to say things which I cannot say. But when I'm told to call a man a woman, or call a woman a man, they're pushing my conscience where it cannot go, because I could not serve my Saviour, the Lord Jesus Christ, and do that.
It's the same story for Christians across Europe. In Finland, a Christian member of parliament faces possible prison time for simply tweeting Bible verses that condemn homosexuality. And Bullivant warns it will probably get worse as Europe returns to its pagan roots.
At the end of that road culturally, I think, is probably 80-90% no religion.
And so to convince them to pay attention to Christianity again is a challenge.
Only a radical revival can change that. But if we don't, then it's going to get darker yet.
There is hope for Europe, and it could be in something missions leaders called the Blessed Reflex. It was the prayer of early missionaries like William Carey and David Livingstone that one day the gospel would return from the mission fields of Africa and Asia to re-evangelize Europe. And there are signs the Blessed Reflex has already begun. Dale Hurd, CBN News, London.
Now, you see, many people will not be in this platform to get themselves accustomed to real information that will empower them for the future. You see, the New World Order, NWO agenda has been in place, at least from document I read, even though I wasn't born in 1945, after World War II. It's been in the making. And they've been pushing that agenda secretly, that is unknown to many novices. People that are not aware of the secret agenda. A lot of people are not aware Now, in that last NWO video clip that you watched, you can clearly see why no government, I repeat, no government can power up electricity in Nigeria. No government. Africa as a whole will remain in darkness until thy kingdom comes. It's been perfected. Now, tell me, Bola Tinubu is currently scrutinizing over 60 billion US dollars. Obasanjo's government wasted on electricity between 1999 and 2007. 60 billion. And in 2010, during my very first encounter with General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, I asked him a question. What would he must have done differently with 60 billion US dollars if he's got access to such huge amount of money to power up electricity in Nigeria, and a particular administration spent such ridiculous amount of money on electricity, but rather than provide electricity, Nigeria was plunged into more darkness. Do you know the answer IBB gave to me? He said, Frank, what I should have done with 60 billion US dollars, if I am opportuned, I should have constructed at least 4 nuclear plants in the 4 corners of Nigeria. Northwest, northeast, southwest, and southeast. 4. And that with those 4 nuclear power plants, we should be able to power the electricity demand in Nigeria for the next 50 years. Then he reminded me that he single-handedly built the Shiroro Dam. If he can build Shiroro Dam, so quickly within his administration, there's nothing stopping him from actually erecting 4 nuclear power plants in 4 years in all the 4 corners of Nigeria. See, many of the questions Nigerians ought to be asking, they're not asking. Was Obasanjo equally playing the NWO agenda in 1999 to 2007? What was his connection, Obasanjo's connection with Halliburton? What was Obasanjo's share? That money Halliburton made from Nigeria. You're not asking. Look at the case of Haiti. Oil in Haiti. Do you remember the earthquake in Haiti? Do you guys remember the earthquake that rocked Haiti in 2010? That terrible earthquake that claimed many lives in Haiti. And this was during when? During George W. Bush period, and Dick Cheney was the vice president of George W. Bush. Dick Cheney is one of the top guys at Halliburton. In fact, Dick Cheney owns Halliburton. Why was Bill Clinton quickly sent to Haiti by George W. Bush to start raising, to be the head of the humanitarian person from the United States to help Haiti in that earthquake that rocked that nation at the time? The answer is there. Oil. Oil. And then, from the same video clip, those debating the Haiti's case, they made us know that 65 million years ago, an asteroid fell on Haiti. And that asteroid that fell on Haiti probably destroyed lives, a lot of lives at the time. Many lives were lost. Created mountain of leftover of the asteroid. And the asteroid that landed in Haiti at the time contained a mineral called iridium. What is iridium used for? Iridium is heat resistance, and it is used to build spacecraft. And since 1986, the US, they've been mining iridium. There's gold also in abundance in Haiti. Many black African nations are not poor. And according to one of the speakers, then said Haiti is actually sitting on, was it 4 or 5 tectonic plates of the world, just like Saudi Arabia. Those tectonic plates, you remember I told you, many of you probably don't realize the earth has got its own heartbeat. And the earth has got its own veins and arteries, just like humans. And crude oil is the earth's blood that flows through the veins and the arteries of the world. Nigeria happens to be sitting on a particular part of the earth's veins, especially southern Nigeria, which is why we've got abundance in oil. In fact, the oil in Haiti is far more bigger underneath than the oil in Venezuela. Venezuela is the biggest oil producer in the world, but Haiti is even bigger in terms of oil that is beneath their ground, because it is sitting either on the 4 or 5 tectonic plates of the world. Let's now go into Christianity. See, the white folks threw Bible at us. They said we should forget about our own deity, our own methods of calling gods, our own way. They said our own gods are devilish, they are satanic, and that their own God of Christianity is the pure, clean religion. The saints. There's a question I want to pose. I've been meditating and I've been thinking about this for a long time, because the social media is making a lot of people crazy these days. When Jesus Christ was alive, Jesus never claimed he was a Christian. Jesus never claimed he was a Christian. He never claimed he was a Muslim. Never. The only thing Jesus did to the Father in heaven is to pray. You see, now I am beginning to patch things together. And I am beginning to see, because I've really delved into Constantine's history and the Roman Empire. One of the most powerful. My eyes seem to now open, now begin to see that perhaps the Lord of hosts, the creator of heaven and earth, is not even a white man, but a black man. And everything that surrounds God and the heavenly realms are brilliant white. I'm beginning to wonder if Christianity is cooked up by the white folks as an alternative to the real Jesus and God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Jesus Christ. I'm beginning to feel that pulse in me that he's not a white man. Because the heart of civilization in the world is in Africa. Now I am beginning to even imagine that when we die, When we ascend, when our spirit, our soul departs this our physical body, I'm beginning to get that inclination spiritually that we ascend to the next dimension based on the way I treat you and many others on the surface of this planet. And then based on the deity, if it is Jesus Christ, if it is Prophet Muhammad, if it is the deity from Yoruba land, such as Shango, Obatala, Yemoja, Oshun, that I strongly believe in, they were the ones that will meet me at the departure gate before the books of my life will then be opened up unto me. And depending on how good I am to a handful of people, or how bad I am here as I am with you now, when that judgment comes upon me, forget about my body. My body is already in the grave. That one will be eaten up by ants anyway, because the body is just a carrier of the soul. It is that soul that will then account from whichever one I came from. And based on my karma here, the spiritual realm can decide that, oh, you can then go back as either a cat or a dog or a bird or whatever. In heaven, I'm beginning to doubt the fact that there is no religion in heaven. There is no Islam, there is no Judaism, there is no Christianity. But the angelic being and those that are pure in spirit, they worship one God. And exactly that one God that is currently prevalent high up in heaven, that is exactly what the satanic agenda is all about on the surface of this planet. It's too heavy for some of you. Yeti Queen, you're welcome. And I think I saw Alaja Lola too earlier on. Narada, let me quickly post your comment. This white men, economic hitmen admitting their civil atrocities and evil deeds in the open with audiences believes that they are untouchable, that their government will protect them from prosecutions as patriots for their countries. In fact, we should be glad they are talking. Maybe they are already feeling guilty and they are too scared of when the owner of the time knocks on their door and take them, because they're not going to live forever. Narada. Again, you said, are you all listening attentively? Europe is moving away from Christianity while Africans are building churches instead of building viable infrastructures and factories. Thank you for that. Narada. You said the New World Order concept was conceived in 1876 after the American Civil War. Again, you said, IBB can go to hell and kiss. No, I'm not going to accept that. Narada said, Christianity was created during the Ecumenical Council of Nicaea, yeah, by Constantine. I said it. A pragmatic pagan whom was baptized on his deathbed. Jesus never claimed he was a Christian. Okay, now guys, let me come to Yoruba. Let's come down to the southwest. And in this, I think I am going to play you where is it? Yeah, I'm going to play you this voice note. And the very first one I'm going to play you, I want you to please listen to it. I want you to listen to this because recently there was an explosion in Ibadan and Yoruba Nation. Maybe this will hit up the polity in Nigeria in terms of agitation, but I got these 3 video clips and I want you to please listen to this because this is a Yoruba video clip. The next 3 video clips I'm going to play you, they are all in Yoruba language. I'll try as much as possible to actually break them down. Here it is.
mo ti gbọ́ kidnapping wọ́n gbóríṣiríṣi mi ò rírí eléyìí rí ń tèmi mo kàn ń gbọ́ ni mi ò rírí Ọlọ́run máa fi ṣọ́ ẹ̀ṣọ́ wa nǹkan tí Yorùbá àti Igbo àti Benin and some other part of Nigeria tí wọ́n understand nípa Fúlàní ni pé àwọn Haúsá máa ń sọ pé Bafulaci maƙetaci Bafulaci maƙetaci ne. Bafulaci maƙetaci means maƙetaci wickedness, maƙeta only wickedness. Adema àwọn Hausa ma àwọn Fulani, they are renowned for that. One were extremely wicked, and they don't have a heart. They don't have a heart at all. One man can't put any heart. One wicked to a core. One Fulani ò rán àyàn ṣe àwọn tá a Hausa kì í bá wọn ṣe. They kì í fẹ́ wọn. It's in their bloodstream. They cannot help it. Ó dàbí àwọn Katsina wa. Àwọn gan wicked maƙetatan mutane ne kuma wọ́n máa ń pè wọ́n máa ń oríkì wọn nìyẹn àwọn Katsina àwọn oríkì tí wọ́n nìyẹn wọ́n wicked Fulani oríkì wọn wà very wicked. So béèyàn bá ti náà ti wá kò ní mọ nǹkan tó ń go on with Fulani people ni pé bí Fulani ti lọ wà nílẹ̀ Yorùbá tó wà nílẹ̀ Igbo àánú Igbo àti Yorùbá ṣe mí seriously because wọ́n mọ iná ọmọ rárá ni wọ́n wọn mọ nǹkan tán fi ń rárá àṣetán Buhari sọ pé ká má lé wọn àṣetán Buhari kan fi wọn sílẹ̀ they are very wicked people mi ò dẹ̀ rí bí Yorùbá ṣe lè fi Fúlàní lẹ̀ because they are renowned for it orúkọ wọn nìyẹn they are wicked they are extremely wicked people èmi tí mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ yẹn Hausa ni mí we know them very well mafullace maƙetaci ne ƙwarai da gaskiya mafullace mugu maƙetaci ba wanda ya kasu ƙeta duniya wọn ma bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe kẹta wọ́ wọn lópin sí adẹ̀sọ̀rọ̀ tán wọ́n ní ká fi wọ́n lẹ̀lẹ̀ Yorùbá kí wọ́n lẹ̀lẹ̀ Ìgbò kan bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní pààyàn káàkiri fídíò kan wà tán sẹ́ǹdì sí mi nípa ti Fúlàní yìí náà ni wọ́n dẹ̀ mú ọmọ lọ́mọ wọ́n dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní rape ẹ̀ somehow kò sí nǹkan tí ò pé sọ́wọ́ wọn nípa wickedness they are no Muslim they are no Christian they don't have religion at all wọ́n kàn wà bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n tún wá ní kinní kan arrow ni arrow tán máa ń gbé káàkiri yẹn is not an ordinary arrow yẹn is poisonous poison ló wà nù arrow yẹn tó bá kàn lára báyìí máa kú immediately ni so Buhari wọ́n sọ òṣì ọ̀rọ̀ pé kán fi wọ́n lẹ̀ pé ẹni tó bá tampa Fúlàní ṣebí náà tí ló yẹ kán fi wọ́n lẹ̀ sí tó bá tiẹ̀ fẹ́ fún wọn níbi kán ti máa ṣe ẹnu wọn ṣebí náà tí ní ló yẹ kán fi wọ́n lẹ̀ sí ṣebí nílẹ̀ Yorùbá sọ pé kò sí Fúlàní nílẹ̀ Ìgbò kò sí Fúlàní ilẹ̀ Haúsá ni Fúlàní wà ilẹ̀ Haúsá ni Fúlàní wà kò sí níbẹ̀ tó bá yẹ pé nǹkan kan fẹ́ ṣe nìyẹn ká dà wọ́n sílẹ̀ Haúsá náà àbí tẹ̀yàn bá lòdòdó àṣà àti ẹ̀sọ̀ mo wà very sad about the whole thing torí àwọn Yorùbá àti Ìgbò àti Benin kankan bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn wọn ò mọ story Fúlàní tá bá mọ story Fúlàní wọn ò ní gbà kí wọ́n Fúlàní kó wà láyé lọ́dọ̀ wọn mi ò sọ pé gbogbo wọn ló wicked but nǹkan tá wọ́n mọ̀ nìyẹn wọ́n mọ wickedness inú ẹ̀jẹ̀ wọn ló wà inú inheritance wọn ni inú bloodstream wọn ló wà àdáyébá ni fún wọn tí Fúlàní ò bá tí ì ṣèkà kò tí ì ṣe kinní báwọn ṣùgbọ́n ṣe dá wọn ní tiwọn nìyẹn kí náà ṣe pé mo fi ń bà wọ́n jẹ́ àwa mọ Fúlàní dáadáa àwa mọ Fúlàní dáadáa mi ní bá Fúlàní ṣe neighbor kèéta ni wọ́n kèéta seriously ni wọ́n ṣe yẹ yín bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn so Ọlọ́run á máa fi ṣọ́ ẹ̀ṣọ́ wa Ọlọ́run á dẹ̀ fún ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àti ilẹ̀ Ìgbò àti ilẹ̀ Benin níbikíbi Ọlọ́run fún wọn ní ìṣẹ́gun nípa Fúlàní I am not happy about it tí Buhari bá fẹ́ really tó bá ní nǹkan tó ń ṣe ní ọpọlọ ni tí ò bá ní nǹkan tó ń ṣe fún Buhari lọ́pọlọ ni ìṣe ló yẹ kó dà wọ́n sí north but ó ti mọ̀ pé northern ti mọ Fúlàní dáadáa torí kí Fúlàní ká tó gbé bí sorry to use this language ká tó gbé wèrè wọn jáde Haúsá ti mọ̀ but ibi táwọn kó wọn lọ yẹn wọn ò mọ story Fúlàní ni tá bá mọ story Fúlàní wọn nígbà Fúlàní mára kí ló ń jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ so for that reason kò lè kó wọn lọ sílẹ̀ Haúsá kò sí nǹkan tí Haúsá fẹ́ fi Fúlàní ṣe ká tó gbọ́wọ́ kan bá Haúsá ti gbọ́wọ́ mẹ́wàá àti amara àjọmara ni Haúsá àti Fúlàní àjọmara àwọn gan mọ̀ pé àwa mọ̀ pé wọ́n wicked but ibi tí wọn ti mọ̀ pé wọ́n wicked ibẹ̀ náà kó I'm sorry to use this náà kó wèrè wọn lọ because I mean wọn mọ story wọn ni àbí ó kàn ká mi lára ni ẹ̀fà fídíò tí mo rí ó ká mi lára that's why I'm leaving this message tá a bá lè send message yìí sí wọn èmi tí mò ń sọ̀rọ̀ ní Bahausa ce Fulani babu wanda ya kai su ƙeta duniya mun san su da ƙeta maƙetatan mutane ne Hillani maƙetatan mutane ne Allah ya yi su da ƙeta don me za a ce wai a basu ƙasashen Yarbawa saboda Yarbawa da Nyamurai ba su san halin Hillani ba saboda ba su san halin su ba me yasa ba kai su Sokoto ba ko kuma kai su Kaduna ko kuma kai su wuraren Hausawa saboda Hausawa sun gane Hillani cewa Hillani maƙetatan mutane ne inda Yarbawa da Inyamurai sun gane cewa Hillani ba maƙetatan mutane ne ba ai ba za a kai su inda suke ba wannan irin cin amana da cuta fa mutum ka ce ka kira kanka musulmi kana jiran inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un ba kama tsoron Allah ka ce wai za ka kai mutane ka kai ma Inyamurai da Yarbawa Hillani a halaka su kana ku da tsoron Allah ka ko tabbatacce ne sai ka je ka iske Allah ka gaya ma Allah abinda ka tsina na duniya. To haka ake yi saboda Allah, saboda mutanen nan ba su san ketan Hillani ba, sai yasa an ka kai musu Hillani. To su kawo su Sokoto ko kuma su kawo su Kaduna ko Zaria ko ina ne. Dama Hausawa kar ta san kar shine maganan Bahaushe da Hillani. Ai duk maƙetatan duniya ne, duk mai jin Hausa su jiji, wallahi Hillani maƙetatan duniya ne, maƙetata ne kuma maƙetata ne, kuma wallahi Allah ya isan mai Yarabawa da Inyamurai, Ubangiji Allah ya isan musu, duk wanda ya kai musu Hillani Allah ya isan musu. Wannan shi an magana na, wanga irin cin amana da ramman mutane fa. Kawai sai a je kasan mutane a kai musu Hillani a je a kakkashe su, ana ci musu amfanin gona. Saboda Allah haka ake yi, suna kidnapping mutane, suna ta'addanci. Hillani na ta ta'addanci. Haka ake yi. Haka ake yi. Ne cikin Hausawa waɗanda ba su san cewa ba Hillace maƙetacin mutum ne. Ba Hillata maƙetaciya ce. Kowa ya sani. Kawai don an rama mutane. Saboda Allah, saboda Annabi. A je haka kawai a kai musu mutane, a je a ci amanansu. Haka ake yi. Àwọn Yorùbá ò mọ bá ṣe rí ni, àwọn Yorùbá ò mọ bá ṣe rí ni, pé ìkà gidi ni wọ́n. Fúlàní ẹ̀dẹ́yàn sá fún ni, àwọn Fúlàní ẹ̀dẹ́yàn sá fún ni. Fúlàní èmi ni mo sọ bẹ́ẹ̀, Haúsá lèmi ní tèmi, mi ò lè ṣe kí n má sọ òdodo ọ̀rọ̀. Torí àbí ààrẹ tí ò ní kúrò láyé ni, ìjàbọ̀ fọ́lọ́run ni kókó, téèyàn bá lòdodo ọ̀rọ̀ kó sọ. Wọ́n wá ti Fúlàní lọ sílẹ̀ Yorùbá àti ilẹ̀ Haúsá torí pé wọn ò ti máa wá Fúlàní. Ẹ bá mi ti mẹ́sẹ̀gì fún everybody, send this message to anybody. Ẹ tó bá gbọ́ Haúsá kó gbọ́, ẹ tó bá gbọ́ Ìgbò kó gbọ́. Àwọn Yorùbá wá fi Fúlàní lẹ̀, wàláhì iná lẹ̀ fi rárá. Gbogbo Yorùbá tó bá ti fi Fúlàní lẹ̀ nílùú wọn àbí Ìgbò, wàláhì iná náà fi rárá iná. Èmi ò ní sọ ju bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ, Ọlọ́run á máa fi ṣọ́ ẹ̀ṣọ́ gbogbo wa.
You see, mo rí kọ́mẹ̀ntì Alhaji Oṣuọládé Ọládòṣù Alákùfọ̀ Bàbá Ìbàdàn. Ṣebí we told them in 2020 when everything hot, but àwọn àgbàlagbà alátẹnujẹ, àwọn àgbàlagbà rádaràda tún there blend eye. A sọ fún wọn ò gbọ́ nǹkan tá sọ ni. #Nigeria 2024. The sufferings by the Yoruba people. Narada. The vast majority of Yorubas adopted the Hausa Fulani culture and religion of Islam. Fulani has overthrown and conquered the Hausas and Yorubas, and they have this belief of enslaving both Hausas and Yoruba peoples, making them subservient to Fulanis. Amagbenu Losibe, we're coming there. And I will tell a handful of you a brief I received concerning what is happening right now. But next, let me play you this next voice note. This next voice note. I want you to please listen to this one.
See them.
I am unable. Mi ò lè show nǹkan tó ń ṣẹlẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ yẹn torí bó ṣe ní agbára tó, so torí ẹ̀ mo ṣe fi ṣe voice note. Let me repeat it again. I can repeat it. Ẹ fi ọpọlọ gbé, use your brain. Mi ò lè show ẹ, so Yorùbá ni máa fi sọ ilé. Mi lè gbé bí àwòrán Yorùbá torí pé kí ni ó ní agbára díẹ̀. So ìyà tí wọ́n dẹ̀ fi wọn àwọn ọmọ òun ni wọ́n lu igi, wọ́n fi lu sọ́nọ́bà bastard sí wọn ní ara. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n tún gbé the next one yìí, ẹ jẹ́ kí n gbé wọlé fún yín next voice note yìí. Àwọn kidnappers ni àwọn eléyìí. Èyí tí ẹ wò yẹn, àwọn Fúlàní tán lọ kidnap àwọn èèyàn ní Nàìjíríà, ní Southern Nigeria ni, tán wá múra ní full military uniform. Ilé tó ń bọ̀ yìí, àwọn Fúlàní kidnappers tán wá sí South West làwọn ilé. Now, òun náà túre ó ń bọ̀ lójú ọpọ́n fún yín.
I don't know wetin dey happen here. This girl wey dey bury like this girl na one of the family member of those, whether na 5 people, yes, she and 3 of her siblings with her mama wey dem carry for Abuja. As they carry them, they give them Friday. Say if they not bring 60 million on Friday, they go buy one of them. Like play. Then go there, see the girl body, say they don't buy him because that day now only 5 million. Now the family see raise. Then buy this one through way. 5 million. Now, how they take carry these people? They know they travel. They carry, then go their estate for their house. Break their, as they carry 10 people that day. But then from their own family, now 5 they carry from their own family. When I 10 people they carry from that estate for Duse for inside Abuja. Now, for you to know, say these things they rugged. As that one happened, Nigerian security agencies, all of them do like say nothing happened. Even Tinubu, nobody, this matter. To the extent these people raise alarm to make people help them to do fundraising. A whole minister, former minister, Pantami, come outside. Person will be under go minister under Buhari. We follow for the people who refuse. Don't be say if we criticize Buhari that time for insecurity, he will defend them. He follow now they raise money for this same kidnapper, the same people. Now they don't raise 50 million from him. This thing where they see like yesterday, people where they travel, 45 of them, they still carry them to come. They demand 135 million. I beg, this thing now, you want them to say never turn to one of the most lucrative business for this country. Let's face facts now. First and foremost, we say he get 8 people now. Their picture they see like this, they 8 NYS members. They carry them since 100 and something days now till today. One like this we never see. Person struggles sponsor him picking for school finish. He graduates just to go serve in fatherland. To go serve for just 1 year, only 1 year. When the picking go there under the care of government. They don't feel protect them. Till today, 100 and something days, no news from the government, no news from anybody, from the NYC, no news from even the people who carry them. Yet, all of us, they move on. It doesn't really matter. Because nobody your picking, because never reach your turn. We have to tell ourselves the truth. If at this point, Nigerians never see reason why we supposed to come outside, block the entire road for this country, shut down everything where they call like economy for this country, until government and the people when they responsible for security sit up to their responsibilities. If we never see the reason to do them, then I can tell you categorically, say all of us for this country, we have accepted that we are all victims waiting to happen. It is just a matter of when, not even whether it will, but when is it going to happen? All of us. This is not you coming out to tell me God forbid. Enough of the God forbid. A lot of people say this God forbid. This little girl said God forbid. In January 1st, this girl, I'm sure she prayed and thanked God Almighty, say she made it to this year. They not even allow the innocent girl see the end of January itself. But now, all of us gather for crossover night, they pray, say, may God help us know see end of 2024. This one, they don't even allow us see the middle of January, when she made that prayer. Yet, the same month, the man will be in charge of the entire security of the country, come outside, use pre-recorded video, deceive the whole world. They tell them, say, security of this country don't improve. Even opposite that same week, they empire 100 and something people for Plateau. It's not even they part of what they record because they don't record the video before that day. They are so like they not really get anything, any care, any concern to talk about the happenings of the country. That is why they feel record video for 2023, carry and post for 2024. They use them, they deceive the world. And this is exactly the people where you put your security for their hands. If you never reach for us to come outside, make serious noise, disturb this movement, stand up for their responsibility. It means all of us for this country, we don't accept what they happen to us, saying are normal. Now, for those of now when they think say this thing is not a joke, listen. This video you see now the way they take they break door, take go carry people. This one happened for Abuja also last year. They go pull down the door, enter house, carry people, call the demand for ransom. So no they think say because you don't enter you know the two waka, so therefore or say they enter flights, you know they enter bus, say they not see you. Then they enter estate now. Una know say now they live for estate, now they get high kidnapping value, very good. Because una go think say because una don't they live for estate security, they nothing they happen. And when issues they have for this country now, not the Greek come outside. All of una when they stay for estates now the Greek come outside because now they always they fear for our life. Finally, you don't reach time where we say even your estate not fit protect you. This girl when I see like when they just bury like this. Now for estate, now inside estate for Abuja for Duse, now they go carry she and her family, 3 siblings and herself with their mama. Then give date, say if they not bring ransom, they go begin to buy them one after the other. The first date they laugh, they teasing and joke. They call them, they call carry this girl. They call carry the body. They go there true. They don't buy this girl. Pieces son. Tinubu they chop. He go chop. He not stop him from chopping. He not stop the chief of army staff from eating. Not stop the police IG from eating. Not stop the DG of DSS to eat. They go still make luxury travel, use their luxury SUVs, carry maximum security, protect themselves. Now only me and you now they on our own. So if you never reach time where all of us supposed to stand up for this country now, say enough is enough to all this insecurity. This whole thing started under Buhari. They refuse to prescribe the Fulani headers. These people where they carry out these things, they refuse to prescribe them. Say this one's they be normal farmers, they be cattle rearers. They not do anything. Today now they don't leave cattle. They rear human being. Now they see about and they come. Time go reach. Both the rich or both the poor will not go know the difference between anybody again. No, just they wait. Make all of us day inside house. So they dodge, they save our head. It's just a matter of when, not a matter of if.
It's a matter of when. You see, this time around, based on the kidnapping saga, I want to make it known that I got a brief. You see, the kidnappers make no mistakes, according to that brief I got from a very good, reliable source that is outside Nigeria. Told me that the kidnappers then are well organized, they are well coordinated, and a well orchestrated schemes that involves one, top brass, top people in government. When I say top brass in government, I'm referring to top people at the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, and the Ministry of Communications. Now, you will recollect in that last voice note that the young man that put forward that voice note said Issa Pantami. You all remember Issa Pantami during that fake, dodgy, latex Muhammadu Buhari when he was in government. That Issa Pantami was directly in charge of the NIN. From the Ministry of Communications. Now, this same Issa Pantami was the man, if you remember very well, who came out openly to now tell the world that kidnapping is a successful business in Nigeria, a thriving business in Nigeria. Now, when I got that little piece of jigsaw that it involves top brass from the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, and the Ministry of Communications, I was able to put 1 + 1 to make 11, not 2. 1 + 1 to make 11, not 2. To now look back at all the activities of Issa Pantami. Issa Pantami has already got all your mobile phone details, where you all live. And now that Issa Pantami is no longer in government, the only business Issa Pantami can now resort to is kidnapping, because Issa Pantami was the king of kidnappers during the tenure of that fake, dodgy, latex, silicon Muhammadu Buhari. So already I will disagree with what that young man said in that voice note, that Issa Pantami was leading people to actually contribute money. No, Issa Pantami is not leading anybody. Don't get screwed up. Issa Pantami is inside the game. He's at the top echelon of the game of kidnapping in Nigeria. And I beg not to be challenged on this issue. I have left this to the dying minute. Okay? Now, listen to this. Listen to this. Issa Pantami. Issa Pantami, if you don't know, you better know now. He's secretly talking to Nigerians so that he will make more lucrative money through kidnapping. And you see, I once told you, whether it is Bola Tinubu being a Yoruba man and a Southwest, they've created and they've increased their intensity in kidnapping because Bola Tinubu will not find a solution to the insecurity that is bedeviling the nation called Nigeria, Location 9, as I quickly decoded Nigeria for you. Bola Tinubu cannot do anything because all the top-notch in the north are inside the same game. Make no mistakes. Stop fooling yourself. You see, I gathered some kidnappers group were specifically deployed to the southwest, the southeast, and the south-south by those same security agencies, heads of department. Did you get that? Some kidnappers group, let me repeat it, were specifically deployed to the southwest, to the southeast, and the south-south by departmental heads of those security agencies. So kidnapping is a racketeering scheme where even the so-called celebrities, your so-called celebrities, such as Funke Akindele and those top-notch, Davido, Wizkid, all those big names, the so-called celebrities of the entertainment industry in Nigeria are even forced to make and to pay on a monthly basis payments into the kidnappers' accounts, designated bank accounts. Why? For their safety and the safety of their loved ones. See, because Issa Pantami has got all the details of Nigerians through their NIM. Is it NIM or NIN? Well, I don't know. I don't have a Nigerian mobile phone. You see, so Issa Pantami has got your home address, your business address, your transport routes, the way you move. And he's got it of all citizens. And you are all easy targets and prey. So what they are doing right now is they are now releasing all the details they've got in their possession when Issa Pantami was the communications minister and in charge of NIN. They're releasing them on a weekly basis through the Nigerian Intelligence Agency and MOC. So they are being released on a weekly basis to this kidnappers group. Báwo ni Surulere? Good evening. Anibolaji wàhálà wà o àfi k'Ọlọ́run ṣàánú fún wa. Yeti Queen, true, a matter of when. Again, Anibolaji, this is very sad and heartbreaking. Chai. John YouTube, good evening. You can clearly see that. See, Ibadan explosion. You see, I'm getting some report here that sadly a UK returnee is amongst the casualties of the Ibadan explosion. You see, sometimes I always say to people, Nigeria is not really worth going. But I don't know, some people, when they get their stay for the first time, the first thing they want to do is to go and shine. I've seen a video clip, I think it was before the COVID lockdown, of a woman who's lived in this country without any trouble for more than 15 years. And after 15 years of sojourn in England, God then blessed her. She then got her stay. And the moment she got her stay, the first place on her mind was Nigeria. She traveled home with a fresh, brand new stay. And she never returned back to England. She died in Nigeria. Maybe this same individual that I'm reading, I'm looking at, in fact, I'm going to bring it out. It read, sadly, UK returnee among casualties of Ibadan explosion. A man, listen, a man who recently returned from the United Kingdom has been counted as one of the victims of Tuesday's explosion in Ibadan, Oyo State capital. The UK returnee, a son of one of the estate's landlords, was around where the explosion occurred. Then some of the eyewitnesses who were there said, look at the guy that just died. He just came from the UK about a week ago. He's the son to a landlord in the estate. Maybe the guy just recently got his indefinite leave to remain in the United Kingdom, and boom, instead of travel to other places of the world where you won't have any problem, you have peace of mind, enjoy yourself if it is for a week or 2 weeks, and then come back. For me, I have written of Nigeria a long time. Nigeria is a no-go place at all. Nigeria, in my own dictionary, is a shithole. Tamboroba nation. There's nothing to write home about Nigeria. Shithole. The New World Order NWO Agenda Nigeria 2024, and then Africa is what we've dealt with today. The time currently in London is 21:44. Now guys, don't forget to please subscribe to our channel and share it. Press the bell icon for alert on all notifications so that you get alerted anytime we post a new video or we are live streaming. We've been on 2 hours 20 minutes. Today, Thursday, 18th day of January 2024. Now, let's carry out one more thing before we finally bring the stream to an end. Let me see if I can find that particular video. Right. Okay, it is not here, but let me show you this. Let me show you this. Some people complain that there is no Naira in Nigeria, but this is the state of Nigeria today. This is the state of a decapitated nation.
Romans! Yake said, it is what it is. Hey, God. I just lost my father, you know. Everybody celebrates. I'm still celebrating for life, you know. Planning on the burial. That's to make I go back normally. Go find small things so that when you reach village, you see, you understand. Now, bank I go for like 3 days back to back before Christmas. And after Christmas, I don't see money. Money not day, money not day bank. But there is money out there for money changers. And look at it. I bought 20,000 for 35K.
You hear that?
This is almost 250,000. I bought it for 400, almost 450K, close to 500,000. And money not the bank, money the money changer. Olayemi, Mr. Olayemi Kadoso, which is the CBN present governor. You see your guy before now, you woofily. Shey they carry Bible, they go prison to prison, court to court. Your Bible, it gets not taken, go big passing on. Why minority are just gaining these things? You and your family, nobody they complain now. Whether government come, government not come, you are privileged to be there. Why not do the needful? Nigerians are suffering. Money not the street, even over not see money. Your money not see take for bank. But money changers, whole money. So where the money from come out? Are they printing separate money from another bank or your bank or the one you are in charge? May your Bible where you want carry the work carry go court to court may not go big pass your own organ. I'm just telling you. Talk to your colleagues. I beg of you. Nigerians are suffering. Rubbish. It is what it is anyway. My name is Maleke. Poop Maleke says so. Happy lost father day.
Nigeria 2024. The agony of a decapitated nation. I want to ask you, is Nigeria truly a decapitated nation? Narada Franklin, let me post your comment before we bring the stream to an end. The Bodija explosion in Ibadan is a predetermined and well-orchestrated attack by Fulanis to create intimidation and fear amongst the locals and Oyo State at large. There's a lot more to that. The Bodija explosion is an attack on Yoruba land because Ibadan is the heart of the Yorubas. Guys, let me seize the opportunity to thank each and every one of you for coming to join us on this live stream. Yes, I promised myself I'm not going to spend more than 2.5 hours on this live stream. Now, if you have not done so, follow us ruthlessly on Facebook. Yes, click like and then follow us on NuMedia TV on Facebook or Hello Magazine on my personal page, whichever one is conducive to you. I'll prefer NuMedia TV. Like, subscribe, and then press the bell icon, and then click all notices on YouTube. Now, I want to thank you today, Thursday, 18th day of January 2024, for joining me. We're going to do it again. I'm going to get some hot materials. It's getting interesting. Whether Nigeria is going to survive the turbulence is not what I don't know. Whether there's going to be a revolt or a revolution that is probably looming, I don't know. Whether Nigeria is going to end by the time Putin and Biden puts up arrangement to put or press the red button on their nukes table, I don't know. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming to join the well-enlightened people on this live stream this night. I hope to see you next time on our next stream. If it is possible, let's meet on a Sunday, 6 o'clock London time, as usual. I've got other materials and stuff for you that will nourish your inner mind and then leave a lasting legacy into your heart. Until next time, peace and take good care of yourself. Let's bring the stream to an end. Thank you. See you next time.